I heard a story. I don't know if it's true or not. It may very well be, but that after World War II, when Japan had been defeated and, they sent artists and animators to America to study animation because Walt Disney had kind of become the name in animation. And they went home saying, we don't have the money to do something like that. We can't afford that kind of elaborate spectacle of animation.
Mm-hmm.
And so what they decided was to focus more on story. And
Wow.
It is becoming more difficult. Spy Family producer explains why long anime series are becoming impossible. Now, before I dive into this article that has raised many red flags for me, I want to make a prediction. This is the last golden era of anime there will ever be, and it's all downhill from here on a slow decline. Now, you may say, what are you talking about? You're out of your mind. Anime is more popular than ever, growing its audience more every year. But I don't mean as far as popularity or money made, because I do project it will make much more money in the coming years, but I mean as far as quality and storytelling and type of character archetypes anime fans have enjoyed for decades. And the reason being, it's just become way too popular. It's almost like a natural law that occurs with any artistic endeavor that becomes too mainstream with only a few exceptions. And I'm seeing it follow the same patterns that have already led to the destruction of many other properties and franchises, to the point I may just have to accept it's inevitable. The same way I have years ago when it came to Marvel and DC, or just Western entertainment as a whole. Knowing they no longer are making entertainment for me, but only obsessed with this thing called the modern audience and the casual fan. The irony is that they even lost the casual fans themselves, which is why streaming services are racing to license all the South Korean dramas and anime content they can. Hollywood is losing more and more money each year because the West lacks any originality and talent, with only a few exceptions coming few and far between when it used to be abundant. I remember during the Breaking Bad years, which was considered the golden era of television, and when making TV shows was considered a better move than making movies, as there were so many good shows on that time. But it's gotten so bad that now they're looking to bring back Robert Downey and Chris Evans to reprise their roles in Marvel. And I'm like a shark in water filled with blood. All I sense is desperation, because they realized they were making more money and better films in those years when they were making movies for people like me who were excited to see the next Marvel movie and not treating it like something to do on a Friday night when I'm bored. I was actually invested. So, as I read this article, I want to draw a few parallels of mistakes that Japanese creators will possibly make that Hollywood has already if they aren't careful. In an interview with Business Insider, 3 prominent producers in the industry sat down to discuss the current state of anime, including Fukushima, who works directly on the anime adaptation of Spy Family. Shout out to my waifu Yor, alongside Nakatake and Okamura, producers at Wit Studio and Toho respectively. Now, they comment on the success of Mugen Train, the movie, which was like a boost for anime, pushing it to the mainstream damn near overnight it seems, which I guess you could say is like the gift and the curse. And they say it made anime the main culture rather than a subculture. Now, here's the first red flag that was raised for me. They say when the amount of money that anime makes increases, so too do the budgets awarded to certain projects, leading to higher quality productions. They attribute to Demon Slayer having such breathtaking visuals, along with JJK and Dandadan having masterfully done animation, which used to be seen as a rarity, is now expected to be in every highly anticipated release. Now, standards are great and standards are necessary if you want to maintain a certain level of expected quality. That's how you build brand trust. But I'm not sure if animation should be pushed to the forefront where it needs to be groundbreaking with every episode or release, and should be so highly focused on with the type of thinking, the greater the animation will guarantee a greater success. That when something becomes popular, there's this automatic thinking to instantly raise the budget, like it's a reflex, thinking that bigger means better. And going in that direction is what caused the current AAA gaming industry in Hollywood to suffer with these outrageous budgets. Hundreds of millions of dollars thrown away. The latest Final Fantasy sold over 3 million copies and was still considered a failure because the budget was so goddamn high. And from what I've seen, the graphics are beautiful, but as I said before, it's only so real you can make the sky and water scene. to where players don't value graphics as much as they did in the 90s or 2000s. And still, that game fell short by Square Enix's own expectations, where a game like Elden Ring doesn't have the best graphics, but has gameplay that has propelled it past its competition even still. The Marvels having nearly $500 million budget, and who the hell saw that movie? It would have had to make $1 billion just to see a profit, having all that CGI and out of this world powers, with the plot taking place all over the universe because space travel is so cool, but does nothing for the viewer if done to the point it's now redundant. Then when you look at a film like Godzilla Minus One, made in Japan, by Japan, had a budget of only $15 million that made a profit by the second week, I think. And that ended up being the best Godzilla movie I've ever seen. If when put up against a film like Godzilla vs. Kong, yeah, it's a cool fight, but man, that story in Minus One was so well told and grounded. It was the first time I actually rooted for the human characters over Godzilla, because the main character had a whole arc and motivation that kind of spoke to the soul in you, versus a flashy, colorful fight full of human characters I don't give a shit about. Concord, $500 million budget, and who the hell thought that was a good idea? I bring all of this up because this is all unsustainable. This flawed way of thinking of just raise the budget, throw more money at it. That's not creativity. Creativity, if anything, means working with limited resources and thinking outside the box that leads to something refreshing and new. And this type of thinking can be applied to multiple fields. How many live streamers became popular with a regular webcam, live streaming out of their bedroom, and then after making a lot of money, becoming extremely popular, they think, raise the budget, spend more money, buy a studio with the most expensive LED lighting, that'll make me more cool. But in return, causes them to lose the essence of what made them popular in the first place, no longer having that personal feel anymore. And at this point, it's just counterintuitive thinking. Now, don't get me wrong, I think Demon Slayer is beautiful, absolutely beautiful. That fight between Tenjin and the upper ring demon, I forgot his name, is still probably my favorite one in that series. Hands down to those animators who completely had me fascinated during that fight. Along with the humor of how Tenjin was so hated by that damn demon. It was like an insult versus Chad, if anything. My man hated Tenjin with a passion. Like, how dare you be so tall and muscular? And what Tenjin's saying, don't forget I had 3 wives as well. And that threw him over the edge like, oh, hell no, you about to get this work. But that fight was so good and it was so amazing to watch. But guess what? It's still not my favorite scene. My favorite scene is when Tanjiro breaks the boulder, the stepping stone that every man must deal with in the hero's journey that leads to the next step in their process of development of a character. Luke Skywalker when he must deflect the lasers while blindfolded, or Ippo when he must prove himself to Takamura with his first assigned task of catching the leaves. It's scenes and themes like these that has longevity, because there's always going to be better animation tomorrow that no matter how good it is today will seem like nothing to what it will be compared to in the future. Realizing that anime is more than just the animation style. It's the tropes, the humor, the fighting styles, the hand gestures, the unique character designs, the atmosphere, the architecture, the cherry blossoms and fashion, the Japanese mythology that fills a lot of the dialogue and plot a lot of the times. Things that can't be replicated so easily and actually takes thought to do so, rather than the latest piece of software that makes drawing easier or AI. Even the sexual humor and fan service that offends the casual fan so easily, the ones you should never focus to attract, only interested in the flashiest colorful fireworks scene of a fight, but can't watch anything past that because of low attention span TikTok brain of a fan. There's no longevity in them. That's something that my 9-year-old nephew with a kid brain finds cool, but he's always on to the next, and yet Crunchyroll thinks he's the demographic to serve that has no loyalty because they still think anime are kid cartoons, when obviously they never seen Elfen Lied or Ninja Scroll. I mean, what was Ninja Scroll, made in the early 90s? It has nothing of the animation of today, and that still holds up because those characters were cool with a compelling, charming, humorous main character to follow through the plot.
Oh, I know the way now.
That's what I'm referring to when I say longevity. Now, here's a clip of the voice actor Vit Mignogna of Edward Elric from Fullmetal Alchemist explaining the focus of anime back in its early stages when it wasn't on animation but storytelling.
I heard a story. I don't know if it's true or not. It may very well be, but that after World War II, when Japan had been defeated and decimated by the bombs and the war, they sent artists and animators to America to study animation and learn about animation techniques, because Walt Disney had kind of become the name in animation. And they went home saying, we don't have the money to do something like that. We can't afford that kind of elaborate spectacle of animation.
Mm-hmm.
And so what they decided was to focus more on story and, and developing deeper, more compelling stories and characters, because they couldn't afford to put the money into the animation. That's why anime has a certain look. That's why it's not full frame rate. That's why they reuse. That's why personal freeze, like the character will freeze, because they couldn't afford.
it
in a few minutes. But it's really amazing how it's come full circle now. And so many animation companies in Western production now are trying to imitate the anime style. And traditionally, the anime people that came over to study Western animation, they took home what they could learn from it and developed it and embellished it and made it their own. And it's really interesting how it's come full circle now.
The reason I use Disney as an example so much, because they were set up to continue to win in so many ways. Even outside their already classic catalog of IP, when they bought Star Wars, they had a guaranteed pathway to huge success. Star Wars was probably the most popular recognized franchise in the world. You truly have to go out of your way to destroy that brand. And that's what Disney did. They mishandled it by becoming out of touch with the soul and essence of Star Wars, thinking just throw $500 million budget at it, use the best CGI graphics imaginable, ship it out, and people will show it because it says Star Wars. And look where it's at now. I read an article a while ago with the creator of Gundam speaking out, warning the anime industry not to follow in the footsteps of Disney, to not fall in love with big budgets, quick to use the latest technology or what can make your art look better. He advises to always stay in touch with the soul of your project, because that's what made anime special, as Vic mentioned in that clip I just played. He warns, just as I have earlier, there's huge excitement right now for anime, but will fade away in 5 or 6 years, that if they adopt the practices of current Disney, anime will become dull and boring, just as Disney has become now. Now, also he says, though the flashy and incredibly animated shows that have been released in recent years are a sign of growth in the industry, they simply cannot work over a 2-hour length, meaning 24 episodes. The strain that would be put on those producing the anime would be far too great, and shows would take far too long to release if a staff went about working on them in a healthy way. And this is a fear of mine, that it will lead to rushed efforts, quantity over quality, the type of mindset that has led Hollywood into thinking of creativity as an assembly line of product to be delivered, with the expectation of always having a guaranteed audience of great product, consume product, great product, consume product, eventually leading to supply not meeting demands for more, causing studios to outsource work outside of Japanese creators. And that concerns me, because it could lead to ideas being introduced to anime that could strip anime of its Japanese cultural identity, or using AI to meet these demands in a cheap manner, making it become dull and generic like everything else. As said here, demand for a higher quality can lead to worsened work conditions. While finding a way to produce high quality anime over a long season may sound great to fans, it is important to remember that human beings are the ones producing it. Working in the anime industry is not easy, as shown in the infamous struggles of animators working on the most popular series at MAPPA. Many of the people responsible for producing anime fans' favorite shows are overworked and undercompensated, all while working on strict deadlines, which leads to my concerns that I mentioned prior. But Fukushima talks about plans he has to put in motion to counter the stress due to anime's popularity, to help meet its demands and still deliver great quality with quantity. And I do have faith, because Japan is still a place that values their creativity in a way the West has just forgotten, but maybe will reclaim sooner than later. So I am looking forward to see what he plans to put in action. But that's all I have for this video. Tell me what you think in the comment section below. What are your thoughts on my thoughts of this article? Do you agree or disagree? I'm curious to know. If you haven't already, check out my music on Spotify, link in the description. If you enjoy those Samurai Champloo lo-fi mellow boom bap vibes, then my music is definitely for you. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Free think, peace.